Welcome to the Forge podcast today. Today, I just want to get a little bit off my chest and kind of make the example about it matters where you stand. It matters what you believe. It matters where you stand up to. And if you don't stand for anything, the old saying goes, you will fall for everything. So it's important that it matters where we stand in our nation, in our beliefs, in our homes. Everything counts. Your life matters, and it's important that you make a stand. God bless each and every one of you all today.
Trying to get things figured out on this podcast and how to have better lighting for video and whatnot. And I was just sitting here thinking, about God, about how good and how rich and how merciful God truly is, and how He is an ever-present help in trouble. And I was listening to a little bit of news this morning and listen to some things, not mainstream media. Of course, you all know I don't listen to mainstream media stuff, but I was just listening to stuff this morning about some prophetic stuff and some news that don't really hit the mainstream media outlets real well. And I was just thinking, we're about two months out from election, and it's a good and a bad thing because, whenever you're facing the kind of election that we're facing, it determines the direction of our country, the direction of our nation. And I don't really have a really in-depth subject this morning to talk about, but I just want to talk a little bit. As I think about our nation is struggling so bad. We're being pulled so hard to the opposite side and to darkness, and our TVs are open, our phones are open, our computers are open to darkness continually. Like Satan has really been able to use technology in a great way to infiltrate people's homes and even the bedrooms of children and the hearts of humanity when nobody was watching and nobody was looking. Satan was in there doing the work. He was in there using the Taylor Swifts and, the people of great influence and great power that are sold out to demonic worship and, Baal worship and idol worship and to bowing down to the Baphomet and just giving their hearts over to Satan to be used at maximum destruction for the entire nation. I just questioned some things. We see that the election coming up is more than just a man versus a woman. It's more than just, a Donald Trump versus a Kamala Harris, or even if it was a Joe Biden. It's more than that. Our nation seems to be right there on that tipping point where we could go either way. We could go on down the pipe and be completely destroyed and overwhelmed by darkness, and then we're going to see so much famine and so much pestilence and so much more than what we see. And it's really saddening in a lot of ways because I don't want my kids to grow up that way. I don't want your kids to grow up that way. I don't want your grandchildren growing up like they have to grow up in Venezuela right now. We're sheltered. Even here in America, we have a lot of stuff we go through, but we're still not where people like Venezuela are. Where they're struggling just to be able to eat. They're struggling to be able to have, be able to get through the month. They have to wait in lines all day long, for any kind of food they can get, and they dig through the dumpsters continuously. It's really sad. It's really gut-wrenching that that's where we're at in the nation. Because in a lot of ways, we have abandoned our God. We abandoned the God in whom we trust, and then this was supposed to be a nation under one God, and we've abandoned that in a lot of ways. Even the church, up till recently, the church was basically asleep, just doing its own little thing and not involved in much of anything. And I do say we let our country be destroyed. We let our nation be kept washed out from under our feet because we weren't willing to get up and fight for it. We weren't willing to get up and pray about it. We weren't willing to get up and say, no, that's not right. And that's not coming into my kids' schools. That's not getting into my home. And the church fell asleep. And that it is reality. The church went to sleep. And in that slumber, the enemy crept in like we never dreamed was possible. And little by little, he eroded the morals and the values of our children. And we see it coming down the line now. They're more and more wicked. They're more and more detached from the things of God. And God has used things like the COVID stuff to wake the church back up. He's used a lot of this political junk and all this past election to wake the church up, to show us that we need to be praying. We don't need to be just trying to live our everyday life and just do the best we can and, hope we make it to heaven and hope we make a rapture. And that we really need to start praying for the next generation, for the generations to come. And we need to start using whatever abilities we have to benefit true righteousness, true things of God, true morals. It's just been on my mind so much. Here I've got my oldest boy going into the National Guard, and I'm not sure what he's fighting for. I love the military. I believe military wholeheartedly. In a lot of ways, I'm a patriot. If you want to call me that, and you can see my background. God first, and my nation under God. But I wonder, what will my son be given his life for? Will he be given his life for something that we don't necessarily agree with? Excuse me. Will he be given his service? Will he be given his time to fight for people who hate him, for people who don't want him around, and people who could care less about him? Because my son's a Christian. My son, regardless of where he's at in life, maybe he's not where he needs to be. Without a doubt, he's not. But regardless of wherever he is in life, in his spiritual walk, he believes in God, and he believes in doing right, and he believes in helping people and loving people. And he does believe, he does have a good heart, and in those things, and he's not wicked. But who's he fighting for? What's he fighting for? Should he be called into action or do anything? What's he giving his time, his energy, his effort, his sacrifice for? I think more than anything that we need to wake up. We need to wake up and get, I don't know if you would call it patriotism or whatever you want to call it, but we need to be waking up and praying about stuff. That whole concept that the separation of church and state, it was not meant for the church to stay out of the government. It's meant for the government to stay out of the church. The church is supposed to have influence over the government. The church is supposed to teach the moral high ground and to be the foundational point of all leadership. But the government was never supposed to be able to get into power to where it could dictate what the church said or did, because the church is supposed to keep Jesus Christ as the head, so it's not supposed to need to be ran by anything except Christ. But in reality, we have allowed over the years politicians, people that got in there and just told a good story, and they got elevated to positions of power, and then they sold us out. They sold us out to Mammon. They sold us out to Molech. They sold us out to Baal and to Ashtoreth, and they sold us out to Jezebel and Diana and all these gods of the old days. They sold us out, and it's reality. And that's what this whole election stuff's about. That's what all this garbage is about, really, is people were trying to get our country back, trying not to stop it from going over the hillside. And I'm going to say it like this. I want to be real clear. I'm 100% someone that supports Donald Trump for presidency stuff. But I will be very, very clear. I don't support everything about Donald Trump. He is not my savior. He is not the one that, give me life and life more abundantly. He's not those things. His salvation is between him and God, but there are things that I don't agree with, even with him. I don't share his stance on abortion. You know, he's like a half and half abortionist. You know what I'm saying? Give the rights back to the state and let the state decide whether or not it's all right to kill babies. No, I am not supportive of that. You know, I would support a federal ban on abortion. That's true. I would, you know, because I think we're supposed to protect the innocent life. Just because even in the circumstances, and they're not nowhere near as many as people like to say statistic wise, but even in the circumstances of a rape or an incest, it's very, very small that those things actually happen, that people become pregnant. But think about the millions of children that have been killed, for the few thousand that actually had a bad circumstance. How many millions of children have been killed because somebody just didn't want a kid, and somebody didn't want to use safety things whenever they were running around sleeping with whoever they wanted to sleep with. I don't believe it's right for innocent people to pay the price for people's carelessness. Now, and vice versa in a situation, you know, there's a bad thing happen. Unfortunately, we know that it rains on the just and unjust alike, and I hate that. You know, people that I love very, very dearly have been a victim to that, and I still carry my same belief. Like I said, people that I love very, very much have been a victim to those things, rapes and molestations and stuff, and but I still carry my same belief that, you know, we're supposed to protect innocent lives. So even when it comes to stuff like that with Donald Trump, I don't agree with his stance on it. He may take I'm a hands off type person. I'll let you figure that out for yourself. But I don't support that mentality. I think we're supposed to protect innocent life at all cost. You know, and it is traumatic a lot of times. But I've heard a lot of stories or several testimonies that children that are product of rape or product of even incest have went on and been a huge blessing to their family, to their mother, and they wouldn't take it back because of what come out of it. You know, not everything that is horrible or horrendous has to stay that way. You can find, there can be good come out of that stuff. But anyway, you know, I hate to be all up in the feelings and stuff today, but I was just thinking, you know, my boy leaves for the military here in about a month or so. And I was just thinking, you know, what's he putting his life out there for? You know, are we people of righteousness? Are we people of truth? Are we people of strength? Do we really care about people? You know, are we giving our lives so that others might live? Excuse me. We're just kind of rambling this morning. I'm feeling after a few things, but the Lord kind of put this on my mind this morning when I was sitting here thinking about stuff, and it was Psalms 4. And he says, hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness, because thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear me. And then you jump down to verse 3. It says, but know that the Lord has set him apart, him that is godly, for himself. In reality, not everybody's godly that says they're godly. I wish they were. I wish everyone that says I'm a Christian was a Christian. I wish I was perfect myself, but of course I'm not. But it is one thing to say that you are something and you're not, and then to say that you are something and then be set apart because you are. America, however many people listen to this, you are supposed to be a set apart nation. But you're not supposed to be set apart to be like the rest of the world or be the leader of the world that leads them into darkness. We're supposed to be the nation that's set apart unto God. That we were supposed to follow him above everything else and anything else. That's where we're really supposed to be. Is one giving themselves to the Lord, to the plans of the Lord, that we fall higher standard, a higher ground, in the ways of God. That's who we're supposed to be. You're supposed to be, you're supposed to be patriotic in that regard. That says, hey, I protect the life, the liberty, and the justice of this way of life. And this way of life was good. It is good. Even if we go back to Donald Trump being elected, or, getting into office somehow, however he gets back into office, doesn't mean our struggles are over. At most, he's going to be in there 4 years. How many years do you have left in your life? He's not going to make enough changes in 4 years. That's going to give you a perfect life for the rest of your life, regardless. The Lord put this on my heart the other day. He said it to me as I was watching something. He said to me, even with Donald Trump in the office, that doesn't mean the war stops. It means that it intensifies. All of us people that think we're going to take a deep sigh, a deep breath, because we got him back into office, or he's elected and everything's going to be all right, you're going to be really surprised. You're going to be really shocked to see what happens. Because the things called the deep state and these people that are in political power are going to fight him worse than we ever saw before. They're going to fight this system because he's going to fight really hard to try to do what he wants to do, because he knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time this time. So he's going to fight and push his agenda really hard. And when he does, it's going to bring up a lot of uncovering, a lot of secrets revealed, even stuff like JFK stuff and all these things that he's going to declassify. And he's going to pull the covers back off him, and we're going to see all the roaches. Well, guess what happens whenever you see all the roaches and you uncover them? Is they're just like a rabid dog. A dog may not bite you, he may not fight you, but you back him in a corner and he will. We're going to have to fight. We're going to have to learn how to pray. This is not a moment where we pray and finally everything's done and we can go and just breathe. No, this will be a fight. We're entering into a season of fight. You know why? Because we're entering into a season of harvest in the church. And Satan doesn't give up without a fight. People don't give up without a fight. You got to learn that. We got to understand that. That just because we get victory, that doesn't mean the fight's over. It just means we have the upper hand. And we got to keep fighting. See, that's what's happened in our country. It's so long. God called us to set us apart. He called us to make us enlarge our borders, because we were in distress, because the people were wanting to worship God, and God had a plan, and they called out, and He'd give them what they wanted. He'd give us the United States of America. In our distress, we called out to Him as a nation, as a people, and He made us a nation. Similar to what Egypt did, or Israel did in Egypt. They cried out because of their distress, and the Lord said, I've heard my people's cries, and He gave them a nation. He did it with America. He did it with us in a lot of ways, and we abandoned it. We went to sleep. But it's time for that sleeping giant to wake up. It's time for the prophetic of the church to get up and speak. It's time for the apostolic, the apostle of the church, to get up and govern. It's time for the preachers to get up and preach. It's time for the pastors to get up and to lead. It's time for the teachers to get up and teach, and the evangelists to reach everywhere that can be reached. It's time for the church to be the church. Politically or not politically, in power, it's time for us to be the church. We can change everything. I heard it said the other day, I think it was yesterday. I was listening to something, excuse me. I heard it said that they really work really hard, this deep state government stuff really works, all the world powers work really hard to keep the American Christians divided. Whether it's Catholic, whether it's Baptist, whether it's Pentecostal, whether it's, whatever. They work really hard to keep us separated. Like they have a lot of stuff going on trying to keep people from coming together. Because they said that if the American church ever unifies, now this is what they were saying about the Christian church. I'm not saying that we all going to carry the exact same beliefs or doctrines, but he said if the Americans ever unify in Christianity, they will put into power who they want to be in power. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. They said they couldn't cheat enough. They couldn't do enough to stop the American church from being in power if we would all just unify, if people would unify. But I'm going to tell you, we have so many people that are more concerned about their own kingdoms. They proclaim that they are Christians, but they're more concerned about, can I get mine? Can I get mine? And that's what that's what this deep state government stuff does, is they focus on, let me just get a couple million over here, and we'll promise them that they can get theirs. And then we'll take these over here. Somebody else, some other politician says, I'll give you what you want. Let me get mine. So they end up dividing the American church in their politics. They divide us in our belief systems. They just divide us. Listen, maybe you don't believe the same as I believe, but we, as Christians, we should still carry the moral value that we protect innocent life. We should carry the integrity of righteousness. That, as a Christian, those are basic things. You know why they got called the Christians at Antioch? Because they knew that they were acting like Christ. Not because their politics were perfect, not because their belief system was perfect, but because they act like the nature of Christ. They spoke like he spoke. They loved like he loved. They gave like he gave. They prayed like he prayed. They were a representation of him. Didn't call them Catholic. Didn't call them Baptist. Didn't call them Pentecostal. They called them Christians. See, if we ever got that concept down, now I know there's a lot of false doctrine in the world. There's a lot of denominational stuff that I don't agree with, and some of it's unbiblical. Some of it teaches straight up lies. That's truth. But there are some things that the Christian should stay united on, and that is protecting innocent life. That is protecting the moral integrity. That is protecting, one God, our nation under him. That is some of those things we should be protecting. But the problem is so many people are too busy trying to get their own. So many people are so busy, just let me get mine. Let me get my benefit. They asked a question to the Kamala Harris the other day, that if she would be for reparations, and that's where they pay people, cut people of color money because their great grandfathers were slaves, that they're going to pay them, that the United States, the government, the people of today are going to pay taxes to the people who can prove that their ancestors have been slaves, that we're going to have to pay for it. So regardless of their Christian values, they're going to be like what they say they are, if they're Christian or not. They will support her and say, yeah, let me get mine. Let me get mine. Let me get my $1,500 a month or whatever it was they were promising them for the rest of their lives. Let me get mine. I'll vote you in. Let me get mine. And then they forsake the real value of the church, and they're really not Christian. That's the thing. It's almost like a Pharisees type church. Let me get mine. I'll stay in power. You look at me, I'll lead, and I'll get mine, and I'll let you get a little bit. We can't live that way. We can't live our whole life just trying to get ours. We've got to be kingdom minded. We've got to be the church. We got to wake up and pray. That's where we lack more than anything. Our church today, honestly, no, I'm just saying our church in particular, but the church in general lacks discernment. And they're blinded by their own greed. Let me get mine. I'll get mine, and I don't care about you. If I got to sell you out, or if I have to sell your children off, or I have to take food out of your mouth, just let me get mine. If it's the last dime you got, let me get it. Let me get it. Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? Because I want to get mine. Doesn't matter if you need to get yours or not. Doesn't matter if your family's going hungry or if you need gas money or whatever. Just let me have it. I want to do something with it. And that's the wrong mentality. The mentality that the church is supposed to carry is, can I help you? Can we build this thing together? Can we protect the righteous? Can we protect what's good? Can we protect what's innocent? Can we protect what's holy? Not about just let me get mine, but it's about, can we build something together? Can the kingdom of God be built and structured? Not about let me get mine. Now, that's the beautiful thing when it comes to God, is whenever you you focus on giving thanks to the Lord, and you focus on living the Lord's way, what does it say? He says, but know that the Lord has set him apart that is godly for himself. That whenever you're doing things according to God's way, and you're trying to build the kingdom of God, and you're not always focused about let me get mine, but you're trying to do it to God's way, God says it. He says, let me show you that I will set you apart. And not just apart from everybody else, but unto myself. The world don't need to see you set apart by yourself, but the world will see you set apart beside me. And I will seat you in heavenly places. I will bring you up to another place. That's the beauty of being sacrificial. It's not about let me get mine. It's about let me help you. It's about let me lift you up. It's about let me do what's right. It's about let me pray the bigger prayers. Let me pray the things that matter, that will make a difference, so that God can get his. And if God gets his, I automatically know that I'm going to get mine. And he's going to give me what he wants me to have, because it's going to be what's best for me. And more than likely, it's going to be greater than what you ever asked for, thought about anyway. When God blesses you, he blesses you in ways that you can't get on your own. No matter how much of get mine you get, you can't get it the way God can give it. So it's more important that we focus on what we're doing for others, and what are we doing in our country? Who are we praying for? What are we praying for? What are we coming together in alignment with? What are we agreeing with? Bible says, can two walk together except they be agreed? You can't. That's why these stupid politicians get put into positions of power for the last 50 and 60 years, is because the church isn't agreed on nothing. We're selling each other out. We sell each other out on everything it is. Oh, you don't preach the way I like you to preach? Well, then you need to go off somewhere. I'm against you. That's not God. That's not what Jesus said. He said, if they're not against us, they're for us. He didn't say would they have to be in our party. He didn't say they had to be right next to us. He said they're just not against us. Why would we fight against people who are not supposed to be against us? But our politicians and our deep state government stuff has learned that if they can keep the Christians divided, if they can keep them divided, then they can rule, and they can get theirs, and they can stay in power, and they can sell us off little by little. Church, we should be united in our political things. We put people into power. I'm not saying some elections haven't been stolen, but we put people in power based on our votes. We shouldn't be voting for a party. Understand that. Now, a lot of people go to the ballot and they hit straight Republican. I've did it before. But we should vote based on people's beliefs. We should vote based on discernment. Truthfully, we should vote based on, we should pray about who we vote for. We should pray about our government. We should be praying about that they would get their eyes open, that they would see truth, they would see with understanding. We should be praying, because your vote matters, and you should be voting. It does matter. It does make a difference. If you say, well, it's just my vote, it's just one. Well, what happens when 70% of America says it's just one vote? Because that's usually what happens. Some of the biggest turnouts in America was only about 30% of the people actually went to the ballot boxes and voted. And then it determined where their grandkids would go to school. It determined if their grandkids would have less or if they would have more. I mean, be honest, why would you not go make a vote that will affect your children in a good or a negative way? We really do need to stand up and be the church, and the church really needs to stand up together, and they need to be out there voting for the people that are good, at least support the best policies. Like I said, I don't support everything about Donald Trump, but his policies speak volumes to what I want my children to be able to have in life. I want my children to grow up, and I want my children to be free. I want your children to be free. Listen, I'm going to say it like this. We may not agree on everything. We may not, I look at the color red and you say, well, that's not red, that's maroon. And I'm looking at it, and to me, it looks more orange than red, but I still call it red. That's fine. We don't have to agree on every little thing. And that's the truth. But we do need to be able to have the right to say, you want to call it maroon and I want to call it red, then that's all right. It's all right. to have differences of opinion. What happens when only one person's allowed to have an opinion? What happens when you lose the freedom to disagree, and the ones that are in power are full of wickedness and full of filth and want to spread this junk like transgenderism and, all this, homosexual junk and all this, all this nonsense, this wokeism and junk. What happens when they're in power? They quickly destroy your freedom. We see it all the time. We've seen it with, the Obamas. We've seen it with Biden, and they're trying to continue it on with Kamala Harris. And we see it. We don't want that in our life. We don't want that for our kids. Listen, as hard as this is to say, I know this is a Christian ministry and stuff. I would rather, no, I know this sounds contrary. I'm not a paganist. I don't like Satanism. I don't agree with it whatsoever. But if you take the freedom away from people to believe what they want to believe and to speak what they want to speak, guess what that ends up doing? That ends up giving you a Roman Catholic Church that rules an entire nation and puts the church back in the Dark Ages, because you end up with people who are corrupt and wicked being raised to power, and they're the ones that say, hey, this is the religion we're going to follow, and this is how it's going to be. You lose the ability to find truth. You lose that ability. It might be a longer term play out or till it happens, but you eventually lose that ability. It's important that we all have the right to believe what we want to believe and the right to speak what we want to speak. And we need to be voting. We need to be praying that we have our freedoms restored. We have our rights restored. You look at like X or Twitter, whatever it was Elon Musk had, in Brazil, I think it was Brazil, they banned him and confiscated a lot of his stuff, a lot of his property and buildings and things in Brazil, because he was allowing the people of Brazil to get on there and post truth and share the stuff that they knew about the government. Did you know that? I bet you didn't, because they keep everything hush-hush here. Did you know that Elon Musk has multiple indictments over in Europe because they want to charge him for letting the people post on his platform and tell the truth about their government and expose their lies and expose their wickedness? That they have indicted him, literally have arrest warrants out for him because he allowed his platform. Listen, folks, that can happen here as well. We see it, with even, good morning, Sister Phyllis. It's good to see you on here this morning. But we see this with Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying it. He admitted it, that in the last election, he was pressured by the Bidens and the Obamas to censor a lot of the stuff that was put out on Facebook. And they censored it. I knew they were censoring. I watched. They were changing the algorithms to where you wouldn't see the truth. You wouldn't see stuff that they didn't want you to see. They're doing it on Google right now. They're doing it with this Alexa stuff. Maybe you've got one of them stupid Alexa things in your house. My kids had one, and I made him keep it in his bedroom. He wasn't allowed to come out because I know they ear hustle all information. I don't have it in my house now. But if you look at that Alexa stuff, there's videos of people post them online. Alexa, who should we vote for Donald Trump? And they're like, Alexa goes and says something like, we don't offer political whatever, we don't side with whoever. And then they ask, why should we vote for Kamala Harris? And you see this Alexa thing start saying she's the first black woman president, and it starts trying to lay out all these things of why she should be elected for the next presidency. When you say Donald Trump, like, we're not getting involved with that. We don't believe in political, support, yada, yada, yada. And then you ask for Kamala Harris on Alexa, and it tries to pump her up. They're already doing it with Google and YouTube both. They take down videos and stuff like that. Listen, even Facebook took one of my videos down that I put on there yesterday. They took one of my videos and they flagged it for no reason. TikTok has been flagging my videos. I've uploaded my videos. They shadow banned, or not just shadow banned, but they banned me altogether. I have tried to upload these videos like this on TikTok. No, they keep flagging them because they promote too much Christianity, because they promote, ideology that they don't agree with. So they're banning me. I was allowed to put one video on, and then they banned me when I put the second one. They won't upload anything. So they're already trying it because it's getting close to election time. They're already trying to silence your voice. God wants you to be close to him. God wants you to have a voice. But listen, if you don't stand up for what's right and quit just trying to get yours, just quit trying to get me and mine and just take care of me and my family, and we don't start standing up and praying those hard prayers and putting our differences to the side, they're going to destroy us. They're going to run us over, because we need to be praying for these people that are in political power. If they're corrupt and they're wicked, they need to be exposed and need to be brought down. But if they're just and are righteous, they need to have their eyes open to more truth. They need to be protected. We need to be asking God, Lord, can you please help us? Lord, pray in my local elections, pray in my federal elections, pray over my state elections. You look at our governor here in Kentucky, without a shadow of a doubt, you'll never convince me anywise. He stole his election. He stole his election. I seen it with my own eyes. The votes changed from him to Bevin, or from Bevin to him, to Beshears. I seen it live as I was watching the election night in the state of Kentucky. I seen the same votes be taken off Bevin and put on Beshears at the exact same moment. I watched it, and it happened multiple times. Bevin would have so many votes, and he would have 5,000 votes. Beshears would have 4,700. And all of a sudden, and I'm just using this number as an example, all of a sudden, Beshears would go to 5,000 votes, and Bevin would suddenly drop to 4,700 votes. Why? Why is it that can happen and nobody says nothing? Why is it that all across the state of Kentucky you have Republicans elected except for the governor? We're the only state that does that. Why is that? Why is it that the state of Kentucky, for the majority, elects Republican leaders and candidates, but every time it comes to governor, we have a Democrat governor? Might drop. Why is that? It's because they cheat, and then we don't say nothing about it. We accept it. We accept it. We don't do nothing. We don't raise Cain. We don't write nobody. When's the last time we wrote our leaders? So listen, what you're doing is wrong. When's the last time we picked the phone up and said, what you're doing is wrong? We don't. And that's the problem. We have people like in our country, like or our state, like Mitch McConnell. Dude, that's a communist man if I ever seen one. He married a communist woman. I mean, literally. He had been, a leader in our federal government, and elected here and at home. Why? Why are these people in office for 30, 40, 50 years? Why? When their track records are horrible, it's because we let them. We're not praying about it. We're not praying at these people we brought down, and we should be. We should be praying. It should be a part of your prayer for this nation as it is a part of your prayer for your children. That's how serious we should be. When you pray, you should be praying for our nation. When you pray, you should be praying for our leaders to be raised up, because we want the church to be blessed. But listen, we understand that when the wicked are in office, the people mourn. Proverbs says that for a reason. When the wicked are in power, the people mourn. Do you like mourning? Do you like crying about high prices? Do you like crying about inflation? Do you like crying about, used to you could save $30 or $100 out of every paycheck, and, or $200 out of a paycheck or whatever? Do you like crying about because you can't save nothing now? That you're having to live on your credit cards or live on, whatever, just to make ends meet? Do you like having all that taken from you? Because when the wicked are in power, the people will mourn. It's important. You get out there and vote. Support somebody that you believe is right. I didn't say we'd agree on everything, but you do need to get out there, and you do need to pray, and you do need to ask God for discernment. Not who do I vote for? Who's going to represent the Christian values the best? And, in this election, it's going to be Donald Trump without a shadow of a doubt, because, Kamala Harris she is a Jezebel if I ever seen one. She's like a laughing hyena. Nothing's ever serious. But, On the other side, we know that Donald Trump's going to tear up Jack, and when he tears up Jack, it's going to cause all hell in our country too. I know we don't like to think about that, but that's what's going to happen. He's going to come back into office. Whenever he gets back into office, I don't even know if we'll have an election, to be honest with you. But whenever he gets back into office, and he will, we are going to have hell to pay. Not he's not going to target us per se. He's going to target the deep state, but they're going to make all hell break loose. As he brings them down, they are going to go down like a fighting dog, and we're going to have a lot to deal with. This church better know how to pray. Our church better know how to pray, because we're going to need it. So I encourage you all, take time today and pray for your people. Take time today, pray about your vote. Take time today to pray for your nation. God bless each and every one of you.